Welcome back to Rock Island Line. I'm your host, Annika O'Melia. Since we last aired, the mayor of Rock Island delivered his State of the City address, centered on one theme: commitment to community. In that address, he outlined several key priorities: strengthening fiscal discipline and stabilizing city finances, rebuilding trust and responsiveness at City Hall, investing in human infrastructure like housing access and workforce pathways, enforcing accountability around vacant and neglected properties, supporting local businesses, and reorganizing neighborhood associations to bring civic engagement closer to residents. He also proposed forming what he called the Magnificent 10 Rock Islanders with the time, energy, and passion to help the city thrive. 10 people willing to lean in, generate ideas, build partnerships, and act as connective tissue between City Hall and the community. That's an invitation, and I want to ask you directly, is that you? Can you be magnificent for Rock Island? I'm especially excited about the commitment to reorganizing neighborhood associations. Imagine neighbors gathering regularly to review council agendas, set shared priorities, and organize thoughtful, coordinated feedback to their alderperson and the city at large. That's not just engagement, that's power built at the block level. Commitment to community only works if it's mutual and a lot of us are participating. And speaking of stewardship and civic pride, today I'm joined by Deb Kuntzi, Executive Director of the Hauberg Estate, to talk about preservation, public space, and what it means to care for the places that shape us. I hope you enjoy the conversation. I'm here today with Deb Kuntzi from Hauberg Estate. Deb, thank you so much for joining me on the Rock Island Line.
Thanks for having me.
And I'm super excited to hear all about Hauberg and the Dankman family, but we always start by exploring your Rock Island journey. How does your story with Rock Island begin?
Well, I moved to the Quad Cities in 1989. Actually moved to Edgington because my husband was here. Future husband was here, I should say. And we actually moved into the Broadway Historic District in 1998 and bought a home there.
And what attracted you to the Broadway District within the Rock Island? Like, why Rock Island, not Moline, Davenport, and why the Broadway District?
Well, we used to go down to the district a lot when it was very, very active. I always loved old houses. My husband loved the country, so Edgington was the place for him. I brought him into Rock Island kicking and screaming. But once he saw the house and saw what we could do with it, it was a challenge, and he's very handy, and we basically turned it over from a 3-apartment house into a single family. So, yeah.
So tell me about the house. What had you falling in love with this piece of property?
We actually I was looking for a house for, my son was getting married at the time, and I was looking for a house for him. And I found this old house, and I walked in and I said, "No, it's not your house, it's my house."
Oh, you swooped it out from under him.
Well, he's not that handy, and this house needed someone that was handy. And it's 80 Husing's house, so on 20th Street. And it was at the time when actually Rock Island was such a grassroots effort in Broadway. We had we have so many lifelong friends from Broadway and from working on the houses, and everybody was doing the same thing at the same time. And city was very Mark Schwebert actually was the mayor at the time, and he was very much into preservation. He actually started the preservation ordinance in Rock Island.
Oh, really?
So it was very well supported by the city. So we had a lot of city help, but we also had a lot of just great neighbors.
So it probably invited in more of a sense of neighborhood community.
Oh, absolutely.
You were giving each other tips on how to restore things.
Absolutely.
And was there a real effort to kind of get things back to how they were in their original shape, like
Yes.
in terms of windows and floors?
Yeah, very, very much so. The preservationists at the time, I mean, we had what was called the Great Unveiling. So you would take off all the vinyl or aluminum siding off the houses and turn it back into the wooden clapboard. And, we had help with paint colors. We had help with, it was, my house is actually landmarked. And a lot of the houses, and actually Broadway has the most amount of landmarked houses in Rock Island. So yeah, it was a fun and great time. I mean, it was a lot of work, and people absolutely, it was a lot of labor of love went on with all of the houses. And yeah, it was I don't think I'm hoping that maybe that will come back.
Yeah.
But it was just a special moment in time, I think, when that happened, when all of us were there and doing all of that.
So would that have been in the early 2000s?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Early 2000s, yeah.
And then I assume there were tours and people would go through and kind of look at the houses and really celebrate. I remember the Broadway lawn signs.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the renovation signs.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think we still have one on our garage.
Yeah.
One of the old ones.
Is it time to renovate again? Now that 20 years have passed?
Well, if you do it right, I mean, our paint job on our house, so basically what we did with our house is we took it down to bare wood. And it wasn't really peeling all that bad, but we took it down to bare wood and painted it with really, really good paint. Mm-hmm. Did the right amount of prep work, didn't paint in the rain, didn't paint when it was, so they're like, oh, but it's so humid, it's so hot. It's like that didn't make a difference. But our paint job actually lasted 26 years.
Wow. Do you remember who painted it?
Pardon?
Do you remember what company painted it?
We did.
Oh, you painted it?
We did.
Oh.
My husband and I. Yeah.
Okay. I thought you hired someone to do this. Okay.
No.
Wow, 26 years.
Yeah. Yeah, he just actually repainted it. It took us, that was the interesting part. It took us 3.5 years to do the whole renovation of the house. We worked every night after we got home from work. The only night we took off was Fridays. We went down to the district on Fridays. But then we worked for 3.5 years.
Yeah.
Constant. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you see similar things going on in the neighborhood now?
No.
Mm-mm. There's the Driffle House or Diffle House. I follow them on Instagram. So they live somewhere in the district. And they are doing that.
Which one? Which house is it?
I don't know.
You know what street it's on?
Okay.
Okay.
I just follow their Instagram handle.
Yeah.
But
okay.
The couple that live there, I mean, they're hand painting on their wallpaper.
Good.
They're really doing what you're talking about, which is
Good.
trying to restore things. So I feel like there is still. I called bingo last night at Raccoon Motel, and there was a guy from Davenport, and he said he'd love to move to the Broadway district. He's saving money. He wants to restore a house. So I feel like there are still those people out there.
There are. Oh, there are. And I think, there's still a lot of us there. I mean, a lot of us didn't move. Some did, obviously. Everybody would get upset when one of our neighbors would move because I'm just like, you know what? Hey, guys, it's life. Mm-hmm. It's like, this is what happens. People, they fix the things up and they move, and we're grateful that they fixed it up appropriately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of my colleagues has a house they're working on restoring actually in the Broadway district as well.
Good.
So they've got 2 little kids, and I'm like, wow, that seems like a lot. But
yeah, it's harder. It takes a lot longer when you have kids. Ours were grown and out of the house, so we were very lucky in that aspect. Because it takes. I always tell people that if you're going to buy a house on Broadway and you're going to do it historically correct, it's not for the faint of heart, and they cost a lot of money, and they do, but they are so well worth it.
I wonder if, because I've heard people who buy the new construction houses. I think my house would probably someday be historic, but maybe it's not quite old enough yet.
What year is it?
1954, 1960, something like
Has to
that.
be 50 years. You're there.
Okay, I'm there.
Yeah.
I live in old house. And
Okay.
so the Preservation Society did come around one day and took a picture of our house. And there was like a little walking tour. And I've told this story
Is
before.
it mid-century modern?
Mid-century modern.
Oh yeah, that just kind of hit.
Yeah.
And people are really getting more interested in that era.
But when they came by to take the picture of the outside of the house, I was bending over in the driveway picking up a toy or something. So it's my backside is in the brochure. I'm like, couldn't they wait until I stood up before they took that picture? But yeah, but that I wonder about the construction back then versus new construction. The, like you said, there are things that you fix, but then you don't have to keep refixing them.
Right.
Everything's pretty solid.
Oh, absolutely. And I think any of the houses before the 80s, you're probably good.
Yeah.
After that, it really started to get a lot cheaper in construction. And I mean, quality was just, yeah.
Which is kind of ironic because it's so expensive to build a house now.
Yeah.
So maybe the materials are cheaper, but the cost of building a house has become astronomical.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And you certainly, I mean, it would cost a lot to replace yours. It would cost a lot to replace mine. I mean, it's like you can't find old growth wood. We run into that a lot with our older homes now, like with the porches. So a lot of the porches were made out of Douglas fir, and you can get Douglas fir, but it's not old growth, and so the wood doesn't last as long. And so our porches are probably the most vulnerable in these old houses because they're exposed to the weather, they're exposed to the rain, they're going to rot easier. Where the old growth wood, I mean, my front porch, I think they actually put the wraparound front porch on mine in about probably about 1915. And as long as you keep it painted and protected, I mean, it's still good. It doesn't rot.
A lot about maintenance, just doing those little things every year that are required.
Yeah.
But so living in the Broadway district was more than just having a house. It was a community. There were other people who found meaning and purpose in rehabbing and restoring homes. And you said at that time the city was a partner who saw what you were doing and said, this is cool.
Oh, yeah.
We want to
They
promote.
encouraged it.
They encouraged it.
Yeah. Yeah, they had a facade program. They had the sidewalk program. We did not use any of that because that money basically, I think it was CDBG money that they used for that program. So you had to meet a certain income level, and we were above that. But it was there for people that needed it, which was really nice for our houses.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are all gone now. They don't have any of those anymore.
So what has your experience as a Rock Islander been? You moved here in 98. I don't know how old you were, but you weren't a little kid.
No, I love Rock Island. I do. I love Rock Island. It's I'm from a family of 12, so blue collar I knew. That's how I was pretty much raised. And I think that's what Rock Island is. And people here have a lot of pride. They do. They have a lot of pride. There's just a different feel about Rock Island. When we moved in, people were like, "Oh, you're going to live below the hill." I never quite got that, and I still don't to this day. I mean, it's like it's our home. I mean, it's like crime happens everywhere. It doesn't matter where you're at. I mean, it can happen anywhere. And have we had problems there? Not overly. I mean, really?
Yeah.
Am I afraid to live there? No. Was I ever afraid to walk down the street? No. Never, ever. I mean, it's just like but we had some neighbors, that were like, they had kids and their friends were afraid to go to our neighbor's house because it was below the hill in Rock Island. It was like, yeah. I don't hear that much anymore. I used to hear it a lot. I mean, when we first moved in, I heard a lot, but I don't that much anymore.
Yeah. So your experience was, this is just where I live and it's safe and I like it and I've got good neighbors and
Yeah.
Yeah, Moses Robinson was the first ward alderman for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And he used to invite people to come hang out in his neighborhood, and he'd set up a lawn chair and sit outside with you overnight and let you see, how safe Rock Island is.
Oh, absolutely.
But that's one of those stereotypes we're always kind of
Yeah. And I think it's been very hard to get over that for Rock Island. But I don't listen to the noise. I just don't. I've never experienced anything that was really going to scare me.
Yeah.
I mean, I really have not.
Yeah, and Holly Sparkman.
Yep.
And she talked about, they live right by Longview Park,
Yep.
but that she runs all over Rock Island
Yep.
by herself, just everywhere.
Yeah.
And so that didn't, maybe in some ways being from outside of our town and moving in, you didn't come with some of those ideas. So when people said,
oh, I had people, I had people all the time going, why are you moving to Rock Island? Why not?
Yeah.
Really, why not?
What have you enjoyed about living here? You said it's blue collar. You've got the preservation stuff. What makes Rock Island unique among places you've lived or the Quad Cities?
Oh, I've only lived in Rock Island in the Quad Cities. So I'd say once I moved from Edgington, it was Rock Island. I don't know. I like the diversity. I've been fortunate enough to have both of my kids live in Rock Island, and all my grandchildren were raised in Rock Island. And they went to the public schools. And I always thought the diversity was just the coolest thing, because that's our world. It's diversity. And to not be exposed to that's a true injustice, I think. For kids. I mean, they need to grow up and see all sorts of things. I was never one of those parents that hid things or overprotected my kids from people of color, any color. And actually, I think my daughter actually gave me a very nice compliment one day when the Black Lives Matter and all of that started happening, and it was just, and it still is a horrible time, I think, in our country. But she said, I am so happy you did not raise me that way.
Yeah.
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 So, yeah, you kind of feel like, oh, I did something right.
Yeah, and when you live in a diverse city, you love people, you get to know people. Yeah. The people from outside who are like, aren't you scared or don't you have concerns about, you realize those aren't real. And you feel kind of sad for people who are so removed from others that they carry these weird fears or stereotypes.
Absolutely. No, I think it's, I remember going to my grandchildren's programs, at their schools, and in particular, one of them, I looked around and there were so many nationalities. And I just thought, this is so cool that we have that here. We have so many nationalities here. And it's just a good thing to raise kids in. It just is.
Yeah. We're really reckoning with American identity right now. And we have some who seem to be insisting that American identity is if you've been here since 1850 or something. And others who say that the idea of being American is really kind of pledging allegiance to a constitution and a set of values and principles, and that we are a nation of immigrants. And so I think when you live in a town like Rock Island, you really get to see how cool and fun it is, and how it adds to your own life to be around all sorts of different people, and how there can be cooperation and love, and it's like a good thing.
Oh, it's a very good thing.
But you might have other people who feel that that is scary, or that they're going to lose more than they will gain. They're going to lose their whiteness, or I don't know what it is.
I don't either. I don't either. I never quite understood it because I've never lived that way.
Yeah.
Even though from the town that I was raised in was very small and very white. I just never picked up on any of that. I mean, I really wasn't raised that way.
Yeah.
I really was not. So I mean, and I think it's really how you're raised. It's not a matter of, yes, you can live around it, and I think that helps,
Mm-hmm.
but I wasn't. We had a lot of Hispanics in our town, but nobody else.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like I just never. I mean,
So we were a good fit for you.
yeah,
And
yeah, very good fit.
I always think part of Rock Island's selling point, something that makes us stand out, that is unique. I mean, we're not the place that can build brand new homes on flat land, but we are a place that has a lot of history. We have a lot of beautiful historic stuff going for us. And we're a place that, like you said, you can feel a little bit like you live in the bigger global world or something.
Yeah, yeah. I
And
mean,
kinda
it's a
leaning
nice
into those.
size. The
Yeah.
Quad Cities is a nice size. It is. You know, no, we're not Chicago. I don't think I'd want to live in that big of a city. But if there's things that you want to do, they're available.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like you can choose that. It's not like there's nothing here. There's a lot here. So I like the size of Quad Cities.
And one of the coolest things that's kind of come about in the last decade is really Hauberg Estate and just the reinvention of this place and so we can shift a little bit toward that. In your Rock Island journey, when did you become interested in Hauberg? Like, how did this become such a big part of your life?
Oh boy. Okay. This is good that I get to tell this story because on Sunday it'll be our 10-year since we actually won it at City Hall. And so what had happened was we were in the era of Dennis Pauley as the mayor and Thomas as the city manager. And it was about December 28th of 2015. There was when the newspapers were popular and you could actually, sit down and read one. There was in one of the sections there was they were talking about selling Hauberg for surplus. And I had never been in Hauberg. I was in it once, but I barely remember it. And it was a time during that time prior to that mayor and that city manager. We had neighborhood input within the city. We would have meetings there was Broadway and Longview and Old Chicago and let's see, what are the other ones?
Hilltop, Bushwick.
Yeah. All of those neighborhoods were represented within the city. And it was really a good thing. And when that administration came to be, they got rid of all of it. So for over 4 years,
Do you mind if I ask how they got rid of it? Like they
just said, no, we're not doing this anymore.
Basically, we're not meeting with you. We're not kind of accepting the input.
They cut it all out.
Okay.
They did. They cut it all out. And it was kind of weird for me because I've volunteered ever since I was 18 years old. So when I moved into the Broadway Historic District, I was president of Broadway Historic District for, I think, 10 years, and then, or maybe 8 years, not quite sure, I can't remember anymore. And then on the board for 12. And we had a lot of say as a neighborhood. I mean, we were very strong as a neighborhood. And then when that administration took over, they said, no, we're not going to do anything like that anymore. So it just all kind of dispersed. And it kind of left a void. I was going through some personal things with my brother was ill, and I had to take care of him. And so I just kind of backed away from a lot of things for a little while. But there was really nothing else to be involved with, as far as it was just kind of a dead zone for me for a while. And then I read that in the paper, and then I saw where the Broadway Historic District was having a meeting, and they were going to talk about Hauberg. And I thought, oh, okay, I'll just go and find a little bit more of what's going on. Historic preservation was, big on my agenda anyway. And during that meeting, they said that a family member, a great niece, still lived in the area within the Quad Cities. And I got her contact, and that was Cynthia Burke. And she was a great niece of John Hauberg. And I emailed her, and I said, there's a lot of people. I heard that the family wanted to start something to save Hauberg. So Faye Hauberg Page lived in Seattle, and that was John Jr.'s daughter. And then Susie Kayali lived in Florida, and she was Catherine's oldest. So those are the two kids of John and Suzanne.
Okay.
And so they wanted to start something to save Hauberg. Of course, they were so far away that it was very hard for them. So I contacted Cynthia, and I said, there's a lot of people here that have a lot of, that can help you historically, that can help, there's a lot of good people that care. Well, I got a call from Faye in Seattle, and she said, we want you to do this. I was like, oh, I thought I was just helping you guys do this, but okay. I hadn't done anything in like 5 years, and I was kind of dead inside. I really was. It was just kind of weird. And I was like, okay. And I talked to every council member. Every Saturday, I would talk to a council member and see where they fell on the subject. So I was very aware of who was going to vote to sell it and who was going to vote to save it. Except for one person.
Did this come together really quickly then?
It did.
Okay.
I always say it's the magic of Hauberg. There's a lot of weird things that happened during that time, because so it was the end of December, and by February 22nd we had it.
Wow.
Which is remarkably fast.
So you kind of got involved in this whole thing in December, and by February 22nd, you'd won, I guess, I don't know if win is the right word, but you had secured...
we won. I would say we won, yeah.
You get this property that you're going to, not that you necessarily own it, but it's not going to be sold.
Right.
The city will continue to own it.
Right.
And so in that short period of time, you kind of emerge designated by the family to kind of be the champion of this.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I call it the perfect storm. I really do. At that time, the 11th Street debacle was going on with Walmart. So all that was coming to a head. People were just so fed up with the administration. There was one council member, Chuck Austin, who's now since passed away. But he sent me a letter, and he said he didn't tip his hand one way or the other, but Ann, his wife, had been on the park board for a long time, and he said Hauberg is considered a park. It's zoned a park, and it's under Parks and Rec. So he said, this is just the tip of the iceberg. They're going to be they want to start selling the parks. And I was like, oh, this is odd. Okay. And it was a very lengthy and nice letter. I mean, it really was. But I would see Chuck walking around Hauberg, and because, I mean, it was a hot topic. We filled council chambers 3 times. Like I said, people, I think at that point had just had enough of everything, and this was just kind of the straw that broke the camel's back. It was, I made a rule we formed a board. Actually, I shouldn't even say, people will ask me, how did you form that board? And I said, I didn't. They just came, and they did. Mm-hmm. We had retired city administration people. We had Mark Schwiebert was actually our pro bono attorney. He talked at council. It was truly the last straw. I think people were just like, they were so sick of just everything that was going on. And they all came, and we met in living rooms. Mark worked on our 501c3, nonprofit status, and Alan Carmen, Dave Cordes, and I worked on our bylaws, and we had a lot of talented people. And me talking to the council members, and I had the mayor pointing in my face a few times. But one rule I always made was that whoever was on our board, or whoever, I would not tolerate any disrespect. I just would not. I was like, no, if you want to talk trash, you talk trash behind doors, but you're not talking trash at a council meeting. You're not talking. I said, no, we're not going to do this. I had been involved with the city long enough to know that never works. And actually, Chuck Austin, after we had won it, Chuck Austin said we were the nicest group they ever met with. So that was very good. It was very nice. It was very, very nice.
Yeah.
So, and that's the way I wanted to keep it.
And he didn't tell you until he voted. So he sent you a letter. You saw him walking around the gardens or around the grounds. He was maybe rolling this around in his head and considering. And how did he end up voting that night?
Well, they didn't take a vote.
Oh, okay.
It was interesting because 3 hours before there was supposed to be a vote, 3 council members changed their mind. I don't know who that was. I can kind of guess at the time. But they changed their mind, and he basically didn't get a vote.
They basically pulled it off the agenda.
They pulled it off. Yep.
That's one thing I've learned about council is they want to know going in how everyone is getting along.
He actually thought he had the votes 3 times and pulled it 3 times. And then the 3rd time it was considered just dead.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, we did met a couple times with the city manager at that time, and I don't think the mayor was there, but he did ask me. He said, Thomas asked me, he said, and Thomas, even though he was an awful city manager, he was never disrespectful to me. He was not. He looked at me and he said, so if you win this, what are you going to do? You're just going to walk away? And I was like, a little confused by that. And I was like, no. I said, I'll call you the next day. And I did. They were not happy. I will say that. They were not happy. But I did. I called them the next day. What a lot of people don't realize, from 2016 to 2017, so that council was completely gone after that, and so was the mayor, and so was the city manager. So we ended up with all new people.
Wow.
Which was good, which was very good. But from 2016 to 2017, there was still city staff at Hauberg. I always wanted the city to be involved with Hauberg. I always thought that would be good because it was supposed to be a public-private partnership.
So maybe before we get into that part of it, do you mind taking us back in time to how did Hauberg come about? What had happened at this property, the family?
Oh, sure.
Also kind of what it, and then we could get to like what was the state of it before you guys assumed responsibility for it. But what is Hauberg Estate?
Hauberg Estate is, okay. So in 1908, Suzanne Denkman bought the property from Colonel Davenport's granddaughters. Okay, so Suzanne was a lumber heiress. Her father was half of Weyerhaeuser Denkman Lumber, which was the largest lumber mill in the United States in 1866. They were brother-in-laws. So Weyerhaeuser was her uncle. But about the early 1900s, so her dad died in 1905. So about 1902, right around there, lumber had really started to die off, basically, because they pretty much clear-cutted. They clear-cutted all the way up into Wisconsin and Minnesota, and it was like, so, but they had made their fortune at that time. Her mom died in 1908. Weyerhaeuser moved out to the Pacific Northwest, which they're still out there to this day. And once her mom and dad died, then all the kids, there were 7 children. She was the youngest. Suzanne was the youngest, and they all became multimillionaires.
In 1908. Wow.
Yeah. 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 And she bought 10 acres from Colonel Davenport's granddaughters, and started on actually the terrace garden first.
So there was no house there.
No.
It was just 10 acres.
It was Bailey's
Colonel...
pasture. That's
okay.
That's what the land was called, Bailey's pasture.
She bought 10 acres from Colonel Davenport.
Granddaughters.
Okay. And so what year would her family have moved into Rock Island? Would it have been in the mid 1800s?
Yep.
Were they in Rock Island at the time that Native Americans
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Because I think a lot of that migration happened in like the 1830s. And okay. So her dad, who owned the lumber company, would have come here from, do you know where they came from? From Germany.
Yeah. Yep.
And was one of the earliest settlers in Rock Island and probably mixing it up with the native population here.
Owned a store first. And then there was a lumber mill, a small lumber mill that was going out of business, and him and Weyerhaeuser bought it.
Wow. Wow. So then her parents die. She's grown up in Rock Island, lived here, and buys 10 acres from Colonel Davenport. Does she know John Hauberg yet?
They were on a few boards together. So they met on the Bethany Homes board. They were on that board together. So she knew of him for a few years. I mean, she did. At that time, she was being courted by a lot of other men from around the country because she was a multimillionaire. They would come from California. They would come from all over the place, and they would take her out to eat. Now, John Hauberg, and the reason we know all this is because, let's see, we have Suzanne's diaries from the time she was 14 years old until she got married. So she got married at 39, and John Hauberg was 41.
Wow.
So they were definitely older. She was actually going to be, she built the house and was going to have 2 of her friends move in with her. And one was Jane Wilson, who was the principal of Audubon.
Interesting.
Yeah. And it was funny because I just saw, I was just reading Forgotten Quad Cities today. I was listening to it,
I love that.
and one of them was Audubon. And so I was listening to it, and it was like, yeah, Jane Audubon was on the original school, or Jane Wilson was in the original school as a principal, and then when they built Audubon in 1923, she was the principal there. And Suzanne had asked her to stay until her kids went to their private prep schools, as they got older. But she asked Jane to remain principal because they were such good friends. But yeah, there was 2 women that was actually going to move into the house. And then she met John, and in the meantime, all these other ones were courting her. And it's funny because John did not read any of her diaries until she passed away. Suzanne passed away in 1942. And he wrote, it's called The Proposal. And so it was when he proposed to her, but then he found out that all these other men, and he could never figure out why she picked him. And she picked him because he didn't just take her out to eat, which he never mentions even taking her out to eat. She was building the West End settlement at the time, and it was a home for abused women on the west end of Rock Island. She had gone to Chicago. She was a kindergarten teacher, and they had a program there that basically these settlement homes where they took care, and it was during the time of men would go and work all week. They'd get their paycheck, and then they would spend it on alcohol. And so there was a lot of abused women, and she was very much a proponent of that.
Yeah, the whole house in Chicago is a really famous settlement house, and it's sometimes kind of talked about as the foundation of social work. Yeah. I'm a social worker, but there was this movement of people who tried to create these settlement houses, she probably modeled it off Chicago.
She did.
Where you were helping with sanitation, with health, vaccinations,
everything.
Nurses,
they had doctors, they had teachers, it was kind of like a big school of home ec, when they had the home ec classes, that they would, and they would teach girls how to sew, and they would, so they had all of that going on. And John was very interested in that also. So as she was building that, he would go with her to see that. They were very much into the social justices.
And that building is still there.
It's still there.
It's still there.
Yes,
I think
it
there's
is.
like
yes, it is.
Not a casino, but
No.
I think it's got some sort of gambling component.
I want to go. I haven't been in it, and I'd love to go in it.
I don't know who owns
I would.
it.
I just feel there'd be such a vibe there with her. But
an interesting piece of Rock Island history, that little brick building in the West End right by the bridge. I mean,
Yeah. So basically, John was involved with everything that she liked. He had an interest also, so that's why she picked him.
And was he in that period of time? Because I know he was really interested in Chief Black Hawk and the Black Hawk War and Black Hawk Park and Singing Bird Lodge. Was that going on for him before he married her or after they got married?
After.
Okay.
After. I do believe after. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He was the pro bono attorney for the Native American Indians here. We do paranormal groups, at Hauberg. It's part of our fundraisers.
That sounds amazing.
And people love it. And I had a medium there on the 3rd floor at the very beginning when we started doing these things, and she was standing there, and she was one that was just she would kind of wander around, and she was real quiet, and she never said a whole lot, and she was just like, and she was standing at the top of the staircase on the 3rd floor, and she looked at me and she said, "Were there Indians here?" And I said, "Yeah." "Yeah." She said, "They keep doing this." She said, "I keep seeing them doing this."
And you're making like prayer hands for anyone listening? Is that
it means community and togetherness.
Oh.
And that's what they felt at Hauberg, because John always helped them. And she said, I said, "Oh yeah." I said, he would invite them to dinner. They came to dinner all the time. And not just come to my house for dinner. If they were there, you get dinner. So it always throw all the the staff off, because
do you
they didn't make
know,
enough.
Was he bringing lawsuits to help enforce treaties? Was he
I
trying to
don't
protect their
know.
land rights?
I don't know. He's written a lot on the Indians, the Native American Indians. I'm sure it's in there. I have not read it.
Okay.
But yes, I mean, it's like there is so much history with the Haubergs that even after 10 years, I can't I can't tell you that I know it all. I don't, because
Yeah.
he did so much. He did so much with the Native American Indians. I mean, it's a Black Hawk Historic Site, basically. He rallied for, and he got it. You know, I mean, he worked hard on that. That's why the Hauberg Museum is in there.
Wow.
You know, so he basically funded all that.
So they were kind of kindred spirits. They cared about humanity. They cared about other people.
Social justices were huge.
Social justice, fairness. They cared about all that stuff.
They did.
And the universe matched that with a lot of money.
Yes, it
And
did.
so you can see the power of people who have means, who also care about
Yeah.
the community they live in. What just a transformational impact.
Oh yeah,
There
yeah.
can
I mean, he
be.
started the Black Hawk Hiking Club, Gem and Mineral, Suzanne, Tri-City Garden Club. Yeah, a lot of, you know, they were very much into, I mean, like I said, they were on Bethany Homes. They were on that board. Let's see, Suzanne, I think, also was on the state board for blindness, which I don't know much about that, except that I know she was on it. Yeah, there was, they both very involved in their churches. She was Presbyterian, he was Lutheran.
And you said they were prohibitionists? So they were anti-alcohol,
Anti,
gambling.
and basically, I think that came about because of just the settlement work. She had seen what that had done to families, and yeah, very much. They gave to the Anti-Saloon League. Yeah,
The
yeah.
Anti-Saloon League.
Yeah, that was during the time of Looney.
Yeah.
You know, they're against gambling, of course. There's a story that John went into a bar with one of his friends and took out the gambling machines and set it in the middle of the street and was going to light it on fire, and then he got arrested.
Wow. Wow. So they saw this because John Looney had the largest kind of criminal organization of anyone, really. He was bigger than Al Capone.
Yeah.
He was before Al Capone, but
Yeah.
you know, at the time, he was the largest kind of operator of underground,
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
what did they call that? Like saloons, I guess. I don't
Yeah,
know.
oh, yeah.
And then there was the prostitution ring with
Right.
Helen Van Dam. And she was like sleeping with the police chief, and there was like a mayor who was so, and then you had Minnie Potter who was
Yep.
writing for the Argus.
Yes.
And so all these characters are in the same
Oh,
couple
yeah.
of generations.
Oh, yeah.
And so you have Hauberg and Dankman as these kind of social justice, how do we take care of people?
Yeah.
And you have Minnie Potter who's writing about all of it. And you have
Yeah.
John Looney who's running his criminal
Yeah.
enterprise with the help of the, you know, police chief. And
And who says Rock Island's boring?
yes,
You
we
know?
have
I mean, the
fascinating
history we have is phenomenal. It's just
Yeah.
phenomenal.
Wow.
Yeah, it really is. It really
Wow.
is. It's fun, and I wish that was out there a little bit more. I think it needs to come back, and I think it would help Rock Island a lot. I do.
Yeah, the
It's our
historical.
history. You can't ignore history. You just can't.
I mean, I feel like we could be such an interesting bed and breakfast community for people who are interested in history. President Lincoln defending the bridge, first railroad bridge, you know. The mayor asked me to help him make a video about all the cool things that have happened in Rock Island.
Yeah.
And for his State of the City. And I mean, it is fascinating.
It's very fascinating.
We kind of touch every part of history in this nation. You know, thinking about John Hauberg and his involvement with indigenous people who lived here before anybody,
Yep.
you know, who had this land, and just everything, civil rights, like,
Yeah.
I mean, gangsters and newspaper. You know, I was reading that they, the Looney family blew up newspaper cars downtown. They put bombs underneath them because the coverage of the Argus was messing up his criminal enterprise.
Oh, that's
and
you know,
I think
I
his
haven't read
child was
enough
shot,
on that
and-
story.
Yeah.
But that is fascinating.
Yeah.
I mean, it is fascinating what happened down there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the Dankman-Hauberg family, during all of this, is trying to lift families out of poverty, improve their quality of life, get men to stop drinking so much.
Yeah.
They were probably against prostitution.
Oh, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure. Well, and during the Depression, Suzanne sent her driver to Chicago to pick up $30,000 in cash and give it to the Rock Island Bank so they would have money.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. They're good people.
So like It's a Wonderful Life, when they're trying to make it through the night, and they go to the rich guy in town and say, help us, and the rich guy in town is trying to put them under. Someone like Susan Dankman wanted to give people the security to buoy that, weather that storm, and wow.
Bailed out Service Rubber during that time. Kept a lot of people working.
Wow.
Yeah, the philanthropy was their thing. It really was. I mean, her and her siblings built the Dunkman Library at Augustana. Her brothers did a lot with the parks. A lot of the parks they supported and gave money to.
And we still have Dankman Park.
Yep.
It's not in the
one.
best shape,
No,
but it's,
no.
yeah.
No, but they gave to Longview, and they did a lot with the parks too.
And Dankman School.
Yep, Dankman School. Yeah, it was. They did a lot of good things with their money. They truly did.
Was there any controversy around them? Was there any, not to get into anything negative, but were there any criticisms or critiques of them in their history?
Not that I can find, or no.
Yeah.
Not that I've ever read.
Okay.
I have not. I mean, I've read, like when she died, huge, of course, right up in the newspaper, even when John died. They're good people. They were.
So she commissions this house to be built on this 10 acres.
She did.
And that's prior to her getting married?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And she's thinking she's going to live there with a friend or...
With 2 friends.
And she must like her independence. I mean, that tells me that she had all these suitors.
I think she was comfortable in it.
Yeah.
I do. And I think, would she have been if she didn't have all that money? Not so sure.
Yeah.
But I think with all the money, she was comfortable. I think she always... wanted a family, and I think she wanted to be married, but it didn't happen. And then John was a farm boy, and became a lawyer. When he started his they got married, and it started his practice, and it was in Moline, and so he spent too much time away from home, so he moved his office up into the 3rd floor of the mansion at that time. But he was all over that house. I mean, he had an office downstairs. Her office was in the library. He had an office upstairs. He had his Indian relic room, So I mean, it was just like they really used that whole house, believe it or not. I mean, it's 25,000 square feet, so it's like, but they lived in all of it.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And there's the main house. And who was the architect who did it?
Spencer and Powers out of Chicago.
Spencer and Powers. So, I mean, it's beautiful.
They were associates with Frank Lloyd Wright in the same office building.
Oh,
so they all used the same architects at that time.
So there's the main house, and then there is the carriage house.
Yes.
And they had horses?
Yes, they did have horses. And so Andrew, which the 2nd floor of the carriage house now is Andrew's place, which is a 2,400 square foot Airbnb. And we named it Andrew's place because it is. He ran that whole building. That was kind of his job. He was the driver. Didn't want to be called chauffeur. He was the driver. He was used to horses and carriages. They brought some of the carriages over from her parents' house. And so in the carriage house there is a auto house because she had Baker Electrics and he had Packards, and then there's the carriage house, which basically housed the carriages, and then there was the stables, We don't think it was during, I mean, she had her electric cars. So I don't think they were using the horse and carriages all that much. Because the stables were in remarkably good shape.
Okay.
So I don't think a lot of the horses were there. They also had another horse barn that was across the street in a Hauberg field.
Where the soccer gets played.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. There was another place for horses, and we don't know exactly how many horses they had. I do have a picture of John Jr. riding his pony, but I have not seen too many carriages.
So Andrew lived above the stable or above the car,
Yep.
the carriage house,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
he took care of the vehicles. He was the driver.
And the conservatory. He took care of that too.
What's a conservatory?
The greenhouse.
Oh, the greenhouse, which was moved.
Well, which is torn down.
Torn down.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was torn down.
Okay.
We don't really know when. We can look at pictures in the 60s, and it wasn't there. So John might have taken it down. Not quite sure.
And that was their primary residence from the time they built it until they passed. They lived,
Yep.
John and Suzanne lived at Hauberg Estate.
Yep.
And then after they passed away, did their children live there?
No.
Okay.
No. John Jr. moved out to Seattle. And Catherine was in Washington, D.C.
Okay. So
Yeah.
they were the generation of themselves that lived there, and no family then kind of took over that property.
No.
And so did they leave it to the city?
So in 1942, Suzanne died. John lived there until he passed away in 1955. In 1956, it was given to the city of Rock Island as a civic center for senior citizens. I think they were working things out till about 1960. And then two groups ran the house, the Women's Club of Rock Island and the Altrusa Club. And they ran it for about 30 years. So they took care of the organ, and in every room was a meeting room for senior citizens. Have to give those two groups a lot of credit. As we all know, cities do not take very good care of their properties, and especially that one. It was the mayor that took it at the time, thought it was a good idea to use it as a senior, basically a senior citizen meeting place. I think his heart was in the right place, but it was always considered a white elephant. It's big. It's a big property.
It's a historic property. It's ornamental. It has.
Yes, it's 10 acres.
Yeah.
It has a lot going on.
Yeah.
It had a 3+ acre terraced food garden. It had
Which you're bringing back to life.
We are.
Yeah.
Yes. And there's so many pieces and parts to that estate that you'd have to have a lot of people working on it, and it has to have a budget. And Hauberg never did have a budget. I said it soon became a white elephant. What do we do with it? How do we pay for it? Understandably so. Cities aren't quite equipped to put all their resources into that, and especially Rock Island. So in 1942, when Suzanne died, John really kind of lost interest in the terrace garden in particular. So since 1942, the terrace garden just kind of grew up, and the grandkids only remember it as a place where the monsters lived.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm, because it's basically 3+ acres. To walk around it, it's 6 blocks. It's big.
I
It's
mean, my
big.
daughter took homecoming pictures there. So on that kind of brick cobblestone road that goes behind the building.
Yeah.
They were back there taking
Yeah.
pictures. We were kind of looking
That's,
over, but
yeah, that's
a lot
that's
of
the
it
driveway.
has since been cleared out. So when those kids were growing up, was it full
Well,
grown
not
trees?
that. So the terrace garden is even farther over.
Oh.
It's even farther over. It was one of Jens Jensen's. So we'll go back to, okay, so Spencer and Powers were the architects. They were associates of Frank Lloyd Wright in the same office building. So they used George Mann Niedecken as an interior decorator, which he did a lot of Frank Lloyd Wright things also. They used Jens Jensen, who was the landscape architect, even though he doesn't technically call himself an architect. But so Jens Jensen did, he did Garfield Conservatory. Is that what it is?
Is that in Davenport?
No, in Chicago.
Oh, okay.
The big conservatory. He did Douglas Park, Lincoln Park. He did all these parks. So he was the grandfather of really the park system.
Wow.
He truly was. And he's the one that turned everything native. So Hauberg Estate is completely native plants. We have all the original blueprints. So we know where every tree, every flower, every bush was planted. We're very fortunate to have that. So Jens Jensen got really kind of sick of Chicago and just said, okay, I'm just going to do estates. So he did 350 estates in the United States, in the country. He did the Ford's estates. Anybody who had money, he's the one that did your estate. There's only 5% left of his estates. And we have one. Wow. In Rock Island, we have one.
Wow.
A lot of people don't know that. Our biggest thing when we took this over was the educational process. It's a huge thing for us to let people realize what we have, how very fortunate we are to have saved this. With the Jens Jensen's design, and to be one of that 5%, it never got sold off. It never got divided because it got neglected. So benign neglect, there's intentional neglect and then there's benign neglect. Hauberg had both. The benign neglect was kind of a good thing, and that's kind of what happened to the terrace garden. Because as it fills itself in and becomes a jungle, no one pays any attention to it and says, they just don't see it. But it's preserved a lot of things underneath of it.
It's like The Secret Garden. I
It
used to
is.
love that
It is
movie
like The
when I
Secret
was
Garden.
little. Yeah.
The steps are still intact.
Wow.
The terraces are still there. The pergola in the terrace garden is 485 feet long. Now that was torn down, of course, and it would have fallen down anyway by this time. So some of the intentional neglect was unfortunate, but the benign neglect saved it in a lot of ways. So we were kind of lucky in that aspect.
So you had these two groups that kind of stewarded it for 30 years.
For 30 years.
When they stopped, what happened to the property between then and the time that...
So in the early 1990s, those two groups literally died off. I mean, they were gone. Mm-hmm. They took care of a lot of things and took care of the house. They didn't do a whole lot of damage to the house. They changed some things because it had to be a meeting rooms, I mean, they put like fluorescent lights in. We can take those down, which we have. Mm-hmm. They put in the 70s, they put in amber glass in in the pantry where it should have been polished glass, which is the glass we know today, not the wavy stuff. The wavy stuff, is like you think of the old glass and you think wavy. But if you had money, you put in polished glass, and that was the glass we know today. So we put all the glass back in. So anything that they did to the house very fixable for us to take it back. They didn't hurt the
They didn't
bones of
paint
it.
all the wood white.
No, they did not. They did not. No, they did not, which thank God for that. So, yeah, those two groups eventually died off. It went back into the hands of the city. And that was kind of its demise.
And the city would just show up to, if there was an emergency, if there was a
No, they did events.
Oh.
They did do events. There were people that one of our members had their wedding there in the early 90s.
I was there in 2011 for Mardi Gras.
Mm-hmm.
They took pictures and
Yep.
before
Yep.
going over to
Yeah, so they used it for things like that, but they had $100 weddings. Which was never going to sustain Hauberg.
It was kind of under-realized.
Very much so.
Yeah.
There was never a vision for Hauberg. It was once again became the white elephant, and we can't afford it. And they had staff there, but didn't do a whole lot with it. Never thought of doing a whole lot out in the grounds and things like that. And so...
And that's why probably this idea of selling it over time became enticing to city council, who's trying to make money. What if we just sell our lands? I mean, right now they're trying to turn 98 acres of nature conserve into light industrial, which I get it. And there's nothing as cool as Hauberg. It's like cement, and there's nothing sitting on that land. But there can be this this almost desperate, like, how do we squeeze some money out of this?
Yeah, because we are landlocked.
Yeah.
And I get all that.
Yeah.
I mean, I do. With Hauberg, that definitely wasn't the case. It was just more of a money drain.
Yeah.
And I can see that. It's they didn't do it any favors. I will say that. They did not. When we took it over in 2000, we got in, like I said, we got in there in
And you
2016.
took it over in 2016.
Well,
Okay.
2016, we didn't even really take it over then. They let us in. We didn't have keys to it. We didn't have keys to it for another year. But we got in because we wanted to declutter. It took us a year and a half to declutter. We took out 18 30-yard dumpsters between the mansion and the carriage house. It was used for storage, a lot of it. And I put in my thing on Facebook that there's going to be some pictures that have never been seen.
A little bit closer to you. There you go.
That have never been seen. We have them all of when we started. There was a whole year to where Todd is our board chair, Todd and I went, and there was a lot of things we did not tell our board because they would have ran.
Been overwhelmed, like
yeah, it would have been like, why are we doing this?
Yeah.
So Todd and I kind of took the brunt of all that for a good year.
Is that like there was water in the basement, or
no, just politics between city and what was going on, and we had a new parks director, which was good. He could see our vision, and I'm sure it wasn't easy for him either. At the beginning, they kept telling him, "Oh, you're never going to be able to work with these friends groups because there's friends of Douglas Park, there's friends of Longview, there's friends of Hauberg, and he's in charge of all of them, and you're never going to be able to work with these groups. You're just never going to be able to do that." And John said, "Yes, I will," and he did.
So that's John Grip, the current
Yeah.
Parks director who was interim city manager for
Right.
a hot minute. And,
Right.
you
Right.
know,
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
That shifted things a little bit.
well,
to-
and having a whole new council, and people that were supportive of what we were doing. I give the most credit to the community. They showed up at the council meetings. They showed up. We had a Hauberg Sparkle Day, and that was to clean Hauberg because I don't think it had ever been cleaned in decades.
Mm-hmm.
Decades. It was pretty dirty, and we called it Hauberg Sparkle Day. And there's a lot of wood in that mansion, and a lot of windows. And we had people, and I have pictures of people. I had a lady that came over who actually went to Hauberg a lot. They used to play cards a lot at Hauberg. And all these other groups when it was actually the Civic Center, and she was there. And she came with her daughter, and she was on a walker, so she was probably in her 80s. And then I had a young mother show up with a baby in the front of her, with the strap on, holding the baby in the front, and she was cleaning woodwork.
Wow.
So we had an age range from babies to over 80. But the only ones who really knew anything about Hauberg were probably at that point, and Hauberg itself, the name, not the building, the name, probably 70s or 80s, the only one that knew them. So all of those generations didn't know.
Yeah.
They didn't know the history of the Haubergs. So that was one of our big goals, was to make sure that the history remained.
And you do have boat cruises that come in.
We do.
You're a stop on people from.
We have the American
Rock
Cruise
Island,
Line. International.
International people
yeah.
coming here to learn this history, and somehow those of us who live here don't know it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's still a lot of people that will stop by Hauberg and they will say, "Oh my gosh, I've lived in Rock Island my whole life and I've never been here." And they're almost like ashamed. And I was like, we get it every day. We get it every day. But it's fine. I mean, they want to know, and we do tours every Friday at 3:00. We have 5 different tours that we do, and I can honestly say now, I mean, we also have our program Curious by Nature, which we've partnered with Spring Forward and 4-H and lots of organizations in that, and so now we're getting kids, school age kids that are coming in, and we make sure that one of our programs during the year is our children's tour, so they get to go through the house and see how Johnny and Catherine lived.
Wow.
When they were about we had it around between 8 and 10 years old, that age of how they lived in the house.
Oh, cool.
So yeah. So I mean, so now we're teaching, the younger generation, which is it's so important.
And isn't there a children's garden coming, or?
Mm-hmm. So the terrace garden is going to be the children's art garden. So that has probably been our longest and largest project. It's been 10 years. We started cutting the trees down, and people at first were like, "Oh, why are you cutting all the trees down?" They were bird dropping trees. I mean, that was always a food garden. Mm-hmm. And it was also had fruit trees in it. And they gave away all the food. The Haubergs did.
So are you going to try to recreate that, a food garden where you're giving food
well,
back to the community?
It's yes. So basically, one of the terraces. So there's 5 terraces. They each have a theme. First one is Illinois authors. And it's amazing how many people don't know how many great authors came from the state of Illinois. Shel Silverstein. And it's like, and on that terrace, we're going to have vignettes of the authors. The second one is the pollinator garden. So the pollinator garden is going to have the raised beds, which we will grow the food in. Now, like I said, these terraces are 485 feet long.
Wow.
It's going to be a lot of food.
Yeah.
And what's the nice thing is that we have gotten, instead of doing just like, the wood raised beds, we have all of the stone we have a lot of the stone from the Rock Island County Courthouse.
Oh, interesting.
And we also have stone from the Ribco stage.
Wow.
So we're going to build our raised beds out of that.
Wow.
So we want to add, I love, I said we always take everything, people will call us and it's like, yeah, we love taking all the old history in Rock Island, because it's like we have the arch from the old Lincoln School, the metal arch. Oh my God.
You're a popular lady.
And then we have the villa entrance. We have that we're going to put in.
You do. The villa's gone, right?
Villa's gone.
Because my grandpa was a city council member way back in the day, Bob Morris, but he loved the villa.
Oh yeah.
He was really into the villa.
But the only thing left standing in the villa was the entrance.
Okay.
And we have that in the basement of the carriage house.
Wow.
That we want to put on the property and use it for an altar, because we have so many weddings.
There's I think that one thing that the city can learn, or community can learn, is this partnership between private citizens, nonprofits, and a city to try to keep something alive that a community cares about, where there's buy-in and passion and energy and neighborhood involvement. And it's really a model for what can be successful.
Oh, absolutely.
And something to build your identity as a city around. We have Lincoln Park and the Genesius Guild. We have Hauberg. We have Longview. They're going to try to bring back maybe the skating rink. Dankman Park Douglas Park, with kind of re-energizing that and recognizing it's the birthplace of the NFL. And, we have such cool stuff in Rock Island.
Yeah.
But short-sightedness of how do we get a quick buck, or how do we put up something new and shitty?
Yeah.
Is attractive to people who want something fast.
And if you look at
we need to hold on to these things.
Yeah, and if you look at those, what you just mentioned, the main key to that was the community did it. Community did it.
Well, and I think that is a trend we need to really reverse. And the mayor again talked about this in his city address, is when you turn off the energy of your community, you turn off the energy of your city. So I don't know if anyone pays you to do any of this, or if you just volunteer all this time and energy.
What?
To do what you do?
Oh, now? Well, I did. Okay, so I was president of Hauberg, for Friends of Hauberg, for 2 years, and then I became executive director.
Okay.
So
now there's a little bit of
So I get paid for that.
Probably not what you're worth, but that
I didn't do it for that reason.
2 years, or all the energy and passion and when you have a city that you don't feel like is listening or honoring that, or you are turning off the power of your community.
Yes.
And so, you need receptive partners, because now you do, you run kind of a successful bar out of there, and you're looking at ways to generate revenue, to have that social entrepreneurship where you're a nonprofit, but you can make it sustainable. But you might need a little bit of support from your community and a little bit of support from your city.
Absolutely.
In order to do that.
Absolutely.
And that investment, you get such a big return on investment.
Huge.
Because it makes it a place, like when I think about my life in Rock Island, I'm busy raising little kids, and I'm so busy. But I see that's a place I'm going to hang out regularly 10 years from now.
Yeah.
I still want it to be there when I move into a phase of my life where I'm not just schlepping my kids around.
Well, our goal is that, and I will actually talk about this on Sunday, the future of Hauberg. So basically, my goal has always been for the nonprofit to own it. The city has never really wanted it. They truly have not. we've been offered multiple times to take it for, we'll give it to you for $1.
Mm-hmm.
But we have to be able to afford it. It's a big place. Now, if we weren't caught behind the 8 ball and had to do everything to catch up on the deferred maintenance of it, we would have probably a lot more money in the bank. But we are very fortunate with grants. We're very fortunate with donors. But there's 3 things that we have to work on right now to make it sustainable. For one thing, it needs a new roof. It's at its end of its life, 25 years end of its life, and the city is going to be working on that with us. Mm-hmm. They are putting in a new parking lot this year, so they're working on they're doing that. Tuck pointing has definitely gone to the wayside, and we're in all brick buildings. I mean, we are. So once those 3 things are done, and we are working on our plan of we need probably about $75,000 more a year to take it over. Mm-hmm. But it can't be, okay, well, this year we only got 50. This year we only got, 60. It has to be 75. We have to have that cushion. We thought the Airbnb would do a little bit better. It probably will. It's been open about a year now. Mm-hmm. So word of mouth, that will happen. So that will definitely help. But there's 3 things that we need to work on. And one is we want private donations for about 3 or 4 years that we will put into investments. So we have a little bit of a cushion there. We need to work on our legacy gifts. And we have a very, very, very small endowment that was basically given to us by one person that started it. We're very fortunate in that. But endowments only give you about 4 to 5% out of that endowment, which is not enough. I think our investments are probably something that we really have to look at a lot closer. So we're going to need more private donations above and beyond of what we're doing now, because we still have projects. We still have the terrace garden, and we want to put the conservatory back on. The conservatory, when we put that back on, will be Miss Denkman's Conservatory Tea and Coffee Shop.
Oh, I love it.
I know. I'm really excited about that one. But, we can actually see the light at the end of the tunnel. I mean, it's remarkable that 10 years sounds like a long time, but with Hauberg, it's not.
Well, and it would kind of become maybe like the Botanical Center, because is that a nonprofit that's owned by the nonprofit but gets maybe some support, or could get support from a city, has private donations, so it would turn more into like that type of an entity or relationship.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, I know it's hard for, people will say to me, well, it's kind of like Davenport does with the Figgy, and I mean, it's like they get support from the city.
Yeah.
I don't know too many places in Rock Island that gets support from the city like that. I mean, on an ongoing. I mean, there are some trusts out there that do that. The Cultural Trust does that.
I mean, we support a lot of different things in the city, through TIF funding or helping somebody out with a development agreement.
Right, in that aspect, yes.
Yeah.
Nonprofits, I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't honestly say I know that.
So there might be a short-sightedness in, whenever a city's talking about, we have to do economic development, they focus a lot on this building needs to be able to pay these taxes. This property, we're going to get $30,000 a year in
To our
property
nonprofits,
tax.
we don't do that because they don't get it.
So they can overlook a nonprofit because they're saying, you're not bringing in this $30,000 a year of taxes.
Right.
To me, that is like, I get that, but at the same time, when you're thinking about how do we grow our population, how do we attract people to live in Rock Island, places like Hauberg are what is unique about our city. There is no new...
Well, like you said about like the community, if you let that community die, you know, and Hauberg is community. I mean, it truly is.
100%.
100% community. I mean, it's what saved it. It's what's keeping it going.
But it's also a model of what Rock Island has working for it. So it's really cool to move to Eldridge now, I guess.
Yeah.
Like Eldridge is booming, it's growing, it's all new, it's new construction. You know, what we can never do that Eldridge can do is have big fields and empty space. Eldridge could never have a Hauberg Park, could never have a Blackhawk Park, a Hauberg Estate. And that is like attractive to a lot of people who want to live in a community that has history and depth and oldness. And and so, I mean, if you had 5 different Hauberg-esque things in Rock Island, that might be a reason people move to Rock Island.
Yes.
That might be a reason people relocate here. And instead of overlooking it and saying, well, we can't get $30,000 a year in property tax, you know, thinking about it as a growth strategy, I feel like we should be kind of an Airbnb community over time. We're kind of multinational. We have all these different stories of American history, and Hauberg would be like a prime stop in that, you know, come to Rock Island for the weekend and go see where Lincoln defended the bridge.
People used to come just to see Broadway.
Yeah.
All the houses in Broadway.
Yeah.
I mean, the
we
people
should
that
be
would walk
reconstructing the cobblestone road there. You know, I don't know how much that costs, and I don't know who would pay for all this.
Yeah. Well, we have a lot of brick roads. We have a lot of brick. And it's. I think there's an ordinance in there somewhere about our brick roads, but yeah, I mean, it's like, you know, I know it's complicated, and people want the stores, and people want and we need that, and we need to have the tax revenue. I mean, if we don't, we end up paying, you know, what we're paying now, and it's like we need all that, and it's but I've never felt that with Rock Island that they could ever accomplish all of it. They get stuck in a little bubble of, like you said, oh, this property is going to make us $30,000 in taxes. But what's the bigger picture?
Yeah.
Look at the bigger picture.
The vision.
And it's like, and that's, I think one of the problems is that there's not a whole lot of vision because they get wrapped up in, you know, all the other stuff. And I get it to a certain extent, but it's like the big picture they've never been able to quite see.
I think that is the purpose of trying to bring back the neighborhood groups is outsourcing the creativity, the passion, the energy, not making we only have 2 people in our economic development team. We have 2 economic developers, and then we contract with DARI, Development Association of Rock Island, to do the other 2. I think we just pay DARI.
Yeah.
I mean, you're just never going to match the energy and enthusiasm of the people who live in Rock Island, care about the spaces.
Yes.
You know,
absolutely.
It's,
absolutely.
So when you cut that energy off, how do you get that back? And how do you, I think that's what the mayor was talking about. Like, we need each neighborhood to have a resurgence of, it's really fascinating. Like, even when you started talking about your own story in Rock Island, you lived in a neighborhood, there was a neighborhood group. It was acknowledged and recognized by a city. It was poured into by a community. And also to look at what does that do for an individual resident's mental health and wellness. Like, it was a city saying, this place matters.
Yes.
Where you live matters.
Yes.
And we care about the specialness of the Broadway district. And we can talk about that as economic development, but it's actually human development. It's how you feel as a human being.
Yeah.
And that when the city kind of said, we don't really care anymore,
Yep.
or we're changing policies, and so we're not doing this historic thing, and we're not, that you said you felt dead inside, and that could have been because you were taking care of your brother. But I think that is what disinvestment feels like.
Mm-hmm.
It is what so many of our neighbors in the West End have felt chronically and for so long. And it changed something about your internal state of being when the city reflected back, this doesn't really matter to us. This place doesn't matter.
Right.
This thing you're trying to do here doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. It actually affects your own internal system of motivation, of happiness, of, whatever. And then when this thing was in the paper and you saw, oh, Hauberg, and then some people were like, yeah, we care about this place.
Yeah.
It turned on in you this commitment to community, this sense that you have a space that matters, that people matter, places matter, history matters.
Yep.
And then it's like a little ripple effect of energy out to all these other people who show up to help it sparkle and come there to participate in it. And but that chronic disinvestment, you'll think, well, what's wrong with those people? Why don't they care about this space that they're in? It's top down, it's bottom up. It has to be all the things, and it's all mixed up together.
Absolutely.
But the psychological impact of disinvestment, what that does. And so just a little nod from a system to say, we can't be responsible for all of this, but we can commit $50,000 for, like, we're all in it together.
Right.
And it has to be.
Right. And that was the idea of the public-private partnership.
Yeah.
I had a meeting with our city manager now, and it was interesting because I said, Hauberg gets a lot of good press. Sometimes the only good press that Rock Island gets. I said, it's not a matter of riding our coattails. It's a matter of, within the last 3 years since Public Works has taken over the buildings that are owned by the city of Rock Island. They're in charge of those now. We used to be under Parks and Rec. Parks and Rec was never given enough money to help with Hauberg. Public Works has a little bit bigger budget. And it has made a huge difference in Hauberg, a huge difference. Anytime we call them, it's like they'll come over and they'll do stuff for us. Sometimes not right away because they have other things to do, and that's fine. We're kind of on their schedule, and that's okay. But Hauberg's never had that. Since 1956, Hauberg has never had that. And now since Public Works has taken over, I will praise that department. Oh my gosh.
And is that
they're wonderful.
Change a light bulb, fix a toilet?
Well, they will fix the toilets. We change the light bulbs, things like that. They don't do stuff. We do a lot of things, but like right now, they're there today, fixing some leaky pipes in the basement of the mansion. There's no questions asked anymore. There's no, nope, we can't pay for that. They're responsible for the buildings in Rock Island, and they're going to take care of them. It has made a huge, huge difference.
Well, and it is a building. It was sitting under a park, and that to me is like cutting grass and.
Well, that's always been done.
Okay.
The cutting of the grass has always been done. Snow plowing has always been done. It was the maintenance.
Yeah, the building.
The building itself,
yeah.
and. There's buildings downtown, they work on City Hall, but it's like that has all gone into the Public Works Department now.
Okay.
And it has made a huge, huge difference. Cool. They're wonderful. They are. I can't say a good, I'm amazed at, James Jordan is like, he will come over and he will be like, he would be like, I could just stay in this building all day.
It's so beautiful. It's like
but
magical.
he cares, you know, and he doesn't do things half-assed.
Yeah.
He just doesn't. And it's like he knows what it's supposed to look like. He knows what, and he does it the right way. And he does it to where it's going to last and not just a Band-Aid.
And the power of caring.
Oh, yes.
You know, the power of just caring.
Yeah.
It's like, how do we do these things? But it's just the power of caring. That's why I get so frustrated about all my work at Century Woods, because it's so hard to convince anyone to care about that property and the people who live there.
Yeah.
And that the caring about a place can be transformative. Oh. It's a secret ingredient.
You know, we've got the community, we've got the nonprofit, but it's still owned by the city. So the city has to care.
Yeah.
They had to care. And we actually have that now. I mean...
And it sometimes takes that unfortunate little piece that I'm not as diplomatic as you. I struggle with this because I'm just very, like, transparent. I'm like, well, this is how I feel. But it takes that really critical piece sometimes of saying, why is no one caring about this? To get a little bit of attention. Sometimes, like, it sounds like you guys took this tactic of always being very respectful. You've never actually shown the pictures of the problem.
We're going to only because, and I'm not doing it in a bad way.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it in a bad way. I don't ever want to come across that way. I don't. It's a reality of how the building was treated. It's the history of the building, of when we took it over, of what it looked like. Is it going to shed a bad light on the city of what they did? Yes. Is it realistic? Yes. Am I doing it to shame them? No, I am not. I am doing it because right now, with them wanting us to take over Hauberg and us wanting to take over Hauberg, I want people to see those pictures so it never happens again, and they have to support it more.
Yeah.
And that is my goal in this. Yeah. And the thing is, there are only there's like 2 people around from that time 10 years ago. I did talk to Dylan about it. I said, Dylan, should I show it? We've shown it once before. We've shown it once before to a alumni group at Butterworth. Wanted us to speak on Hauberg. And I said, do you want us to talk about Suzanne? And they're like, no, we've heard that story. We want to know what you walked into and what you're doing now. And I said, okay. I looked at Todd and I said, well, do we put this together? Do we do this now?
Did you swear them all to secrecy? Were you like, no pictures? You can't take pictures of the pictures?
No, I was showing it and I was talking about it, and I looked at those women's faces and I thought, oh my gosh, what have I done? They were just in shock. And I still, even after I showed it all and explained, okay, this is where we are now, and this is what is happening now, and it's good now, and I still felt bad. I did. I still felt bad about showing it. And one of those ladies had called me a couple days later to thank me, and I said, I have a question to ask you. I said, were those pictures too much? She's like, no. She's like, no. She said, they need to be seen. And they do. And it just, I think it makes our story stronger at this point. And I know the people of Rock Island and even the surrounding communities now, I know they would feel horrible if Hauberg wasn't there. And like I said, not only do they support us now, but they're going to have to support us a little bit more, and for us to take it over. It's it's a logical progression for us. It's still an asset to the city of Rock Island, whether City of Rock Island owns it or not. We're still here. It's still something that people can come to. I think we've proven ourselves in 10 years. Definitely.
Yeah.
Like I said, our community, I mean, we had 10,000 volunteer hours last year.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And we usually average anywhere between 7 and 10,000 a year. That's community.
Yeah.
That is community.
That's mental health. That's
Yeah.
well-being. That's
yeah,
combating loneliness.
And it's like, that isn't even money.
Yeah.
That's just caring.
And sometimes we have to look at return on investment isn't just what dollar do I get back.
Mm-mm.
It's how many kids were outside. It's how many adults were spending time together. Because you guys have this bar area, you don't have any TVs.
Nope, no
People
TVs.
are there actually looking at each other and talking and planning and having fun.
You very rarely see a phone out. Yeah. On our Fridays. Our Fridays were open from 1 to 9. We ended up staying an hour more. Well, we started from 1 to 7 and then found out that it wasn't quite enough for when people got off work and they couldn't spend enough time there. So they wanted us to be open later. So then we started from 1 to 8. And then now we're getting an age group of a lot of our people are older, probably late 60s, 70s. Now we're getting 40s and 50-year-olds in. Mm-hmm. And, you know, they still might have some kids at home and they can't get out the door till 7. So now we're staying open till 9. Mm-hmm. We just had our Mardi Gras party and we had so many new people. I always love when they walk up to me and they're like, what is this place? What is this place? We were told to come here. I said, do you know where you're at? And they're like, well, kind of, but we want the story. They want the story. Took them upstairs to see the apartment. And, you know, I mean, it's just like, they find it, they're like, well, we're coming back. Mm-hmm. We're coming, and we're bringing our friends. Mm-hmm. We're coming back and we're bringing our friends. And it was like, there's still so many people
that need to visit and see it. And once those gardens are there. And
and the thing is, it's like, it's always a little bit slower in the wintertime, you know, at the bar. But once those doors open, holy cow. Mm-hmm. Holy cow. And, you know, people...
And when you say the doors, you mean the big carriage
the carriage doors, house doors, yeah.
Where it's, floor to ceiling door open.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Yeah. Well, they slide. They slide, yeah. So it just amazes me. I mean, it's like, it still does. People will say to me, how did you think of this? Well, you know what? I didn't. You know, I mean, it's like when the bar was built, it was built for events because of our weddings and receptions and, you know, graduations and all that stuff. And I'm thinking this was just too cool of a place. I mean, the whole environment, the whole vibe of the carriage house is so unique. Yeah. There's no place like it. Yeah. I mean, you're sitting on a 10-acre estate at a 1910 carriage house, and you open up those doors and you have the whole front yard, the whole side yard. You have a gravel driveway. You got umbrellas and you've got tables and you've got, I mean, in the fall we put out the fire pits, you know, and I mean, it's in the middle of Rock Island of a neighborhood, and it's this beautiful place. It is so quiet. And I mean, people watch the birds. It's like, and it's, you know, we're dog friendly. So it's like, you know, we all love our little furry friends, and it was like, you know, it's a park, so people were always walking the dogs through. And Tom Sparkman, who's actually on our board, Holly's husband, and Holly actually is a volunteer bartender.
She told me she bartends, yeah.
So all of our bartenders are volunteers. People are just amazed at the volunteers we have. They're just like, how are you doing this? How are you doing this?
Because people get out of it.
Yeah.
Like we kind of forgotten that or something, that you can be involved in things and get more out of it than a paycheck.
Yes.
That by being involved in something, you walk away better.
Yeah.
And
May 1st, so it's like we collect the tips from the bartenders. They donate all their tips, and it goes in a jar. And Mary Bain, who actually worked at Blackhawk Bank her whole life, retired. She also bartends with Holly. And it was like, so they all donate their tips. It goes in a jar. And on May 1st, Mary's favorite thing is to count money.
yeah.
So empty the jar out. I mean, last year I think we had 13,000.
Wow.
Yeah, so it
It's
all
a
goes to a
place
special project.
You feel really good about drinking.
Absolutely.
You feel like it's going to a good place.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But it's just so unique.
Yeah.
It is so unique. I mean, it's like there isn't a place like it. Even in all of the Quad Cities, there's not a place like it.
Yeah, and we need to protect it and invest in it. And so this party is on Saturday. Mm-hmm. And what time is it?
It's from 12 to 4.
Saturday, 12 to 4.
Yeah, so at 12:30, Mark Schwiebert will be speaking.
Okay.
And then Steve Scott, who is a first cousin, second removed. We figured that out the other day.
Wow.
Of the Haubergs. He'll be speaking. He's also on our board, so he's one of the family members that is on our board. And then Todd and I will be showing our video and talking about, past, present, and future.
What comes next?
Yeah, what comes next?
Wow.
What comes next? We've got Augustana is going to cater, and we're busting out the champagne, and then we also have the Hauberg Heritage Room that'll be open that day. So that is all. It's a servant. There's 2 servants' rooms upstairs in the servants' wing that we turned into a museum.
Wow.
So because we're getting
I gotta figure out what I'm doing on Saturday.
Because we're getting so many things back from the family now, because the family members they're in their 80s now, so it's like they keep sending things back that they had. Susie actually passed away last March, and her family sent all the stuff back. We have Suzanne's wedding dress. We have Catherine's wedding dress.
Has anyone ever written a book about Suzanne Dankman and John Hauberg? Like, is there
as a couple in themselves? I don't think so.
I feel like someone should write a movie. We're getting this Fresh Films, this movie, just about that time period in Rock Island with the Loonies and the Potters and the Dankmans, and it's so fascinating.
I mean, it would be, that would be cool.
And they
really
could have
would.
the premiere party at Hauberg Estate. That would be.
I don't know if we're big enough. Outside, maybe.
Yeah.
But
and you have the whole soccer field. I mean, you could do something in the future.
Yeah, what we're planning on doing there. I've been talking a little bit to Quad City Ballet, and Genesius Guild has their annual meeting there. So I think they would be happy to do something there for us on occasion. Mm-hmm. Kind of do a little bit more programming over there.
Some outdoor ballet or outdoor.
Yep. And there's also we're also planning on, Suzanne actually at one point had another greenhouse over there. So we're planning on doing more of a production greenhouse over there, which will bring additional revenue in. Some of those other greenhouses and some of the other estates that we've looked at, they make quite a bit of money off of their commercial greenhouses. So, there's a lot of future plans. Our next thing is we need to put a shed. We got to take the hoop house down, put the shed up, because we need more space, believe it or not.
Yeah.
But we have a lot of tables and chairs and things that we need to be able to have easy access to. And then we can start building. Then we're going to start doing the conservatory. The children's art garden.
You know what else we need is like generous millionaires. I always think,
yes.
I always want to win the lottery. And I'm like, I would just give all my money back to Rock Island. But we need more people with money who want to give it away.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We do.
Yeah.
We do. Yeah,
Because it
we
seems
do.
like, I don't know if that was more of a thing people did for legacy, or this idea that you just, and I know we have a lot of generous people in
do.
Rock Island, but
We do. We do.
we just need more really rich people who are like, how do I give all my money to you?
And the thing is, we pinch every penny. You know,
Yeah.
we're a nonprofit, so I mean, it's like we started in 2017. We started with a $25,000 budget.
Wow.
That was it. That's all we had.
Wow.
It was the house was never left in endowment. You know, so and last year we did 360,000.
Okay.
So, and we've put probably about 1.9 million into the estate since we started our nonprofit. That's
And
just nonprofit.
That's you guys. That's nothing to do
that's
with the
city.
city.
That's not the city.
1.9
And that's
million.
not volunteer hours, because volunteer hours have a monetary value.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, they do. And it's like, yeah, but yeah, just the nonprofit, and that's
Economic development.
yep, that is a lot of money
Yeah.
for a nonprofit, and we've come a long way. And like I said, we couldn't do it without the community. We absolutely could not.
It's so cool, Deb. Hauberg Estate is a gem, and you're a gem of Rock Island
thank
for picking it up and caring and
I was
developing it
bored.
in.
I was dead inside for a while. I'm a person that always has to have
A mission.
a mission. I do. I do. I truly do. You know, I wonder what's going to happen, you know, when I retire, and it's just like, oh, that's scary to me, because I always have to have a project. I just do.
And a next generation of people who care. And I think part of that is helping the next generation understand what is at stake here, and
I wish more parents would teach their kids to volunteer.
you would think that every school would do a field trip to Hauberg. You know, you would
We
think
have a lot, but I think volunteerism is kind of dying, which is kind of scary to me.
well, the robots are coming for all of our jobs. So maybe when the robots are doing all the jobs, we'll just be a nation of volunteers. I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, but it's tough for every nonprofit to get, you know, their volunteers. I mean, yeah, we have a lot of volunteers, but it also helped, I think, that we have 2 full-time and 1 part-time, and that has been a godsend for me.
That kind of stability of
Yeah, between that and our volunteers,
Yeah.
it's very manageable now.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going to happen when we put the coffee shop in,
Yeah.
because I don't anticipate that being volunteer. We're going to have to hire, you know,
Yeah.
people to staff that. But, you know, it's always a challenge. But between us and community and the you know, city helping, and then how they can, it's working.
It is. And
It's
it's such a model that hopefully we can replicate, and just such a beautiful
People
example.
have a hard time replicating.
Yeah. Maybe what you've done probably could never be replicated.
I don't know, but people have a hard time because they can't quite. They're like, how did you do that? I can't honestly tell you how I did it, or how we all did it. It wasn't just me. There's not just one person.
Yeah.
It's yes, I'm the dog. There's no doubt. I'm the dog, and I have the vision. And people will say to me, "What's going to happen when you retire?" You know, they're deathly afraid of that. And I said, the vision's there.
And you trust the house. You're like, the house will find her next.
The house gets what the house wants.
Yeah.
It definitely does.
Yeah.
It definitely does. It has a vibe to where when it needs something, it gets it.
Wow.
And no one can explain that one. No one.
What do you hope for our city? What do you hope for Rock Island? What
do I hope for Rock Island? Boy. I hope they can get out of their own way. I really do. I hope instead of being stuck in their own little bubble that they always seem to get stuck in, and it repeats itself year after year after year after year. They're so predictable, which is an advantage to the people that want to fight them.
Okay.
Because they are predictable.
Mm-hmm.
If they could have more vision, like you said, embrace the community. Don't think of them as the enemy. Embrace the community. We got good people here.
Mm-hmm.
That always, I mean, it's like you start letting a group of people drag it down, and I'm not going to name names, but
you got to go with the energy of the people you govern, or the
you
city
do.
that pays
you do, and
your
that's
salary.
what I think I like about the new mayor,
Mm-hmm.
is that he sees that community. Instead of it being just all about politics, you're going to go so much farther with community. So much farther. I've always been a proponent of community. They're the ones that get things done. They get it done.
Mm-hmm.
If they need help, help them. Don't be against them. Help them.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous to think any other way.
Yeah, it's like our energy harnessing. If you've got momentum for something, if you have energy for something, like you said, sometimes the role of government is just to get out of the way and support a little bit. I think about my dad. He was a physician in Rock Island. He delivered babies and used to work in Rock Island's Unity Point, where that is.
Yeah.
And he started a midwifery program in Illinois. Mm-hmm. And it was one of the most successful in our region. And so, he needed... I think he had like 5 midwives, and back in that time in the 1980s, and
Yeah.
it was pretty revolutionary.
Mm-hmm.
And it allowed us to have OBGYN care in Rock Island for the women who lived here, taking care of everyone, no matter what kind of insurance you had. And he needed, I think it was $25,000 a year from the public health department.
Yeah.
And that kept the program running.
Yeah.
And, they just needed that little cushion of financial support. At some point, and I don't know all the politics of it, the health department said, no, we're not doing that anymore. We do not have an OBGYN in Rock Island. Not one.
I know.
And so sometimes this little investment of, here's all this energy, you don't have to, as a city, create anything. You don't have to really do anything. You just have to let good people do things.
Yes.
And help a tiny bit.
Yeah.
It's so impactful.
Yeah.
Because what does it mean for a community to have a pediatrician? Or that's a big deal too.
Absolutely.
Recruiting. You want to live in a community where you can go to the dentist and the doctor and have a place like Hauberg and have good parks and have all these amenities that are part of why a business would choose to come here.
Yeah.
It's a chicken and an egg, but you can't forget one half while you're focused on the other half.
Right. And like I said, I know they have a lot of things to think about within the city, but...
Actually, there is a baby doctor, though. We have a fabulous group of home birth midwives in Rock Island.
Oh, okay.
Down by, like, Bent River.
Yeah.
So they're not obstetricians and they're not nurse practitioners, but they do home delivery. So I don't want to forget them because they're awesome.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm hoping, instead of people fighting against the mayor, I'm hoping they will embrace that idea, because you can't go wrong. You can't go wrong with embracing your community. You just can't.
Yeah. I think it's getting those neighborhood groups up and running again and having someone from the Rock Island government saying, we care about this and we will respond to this and listen to this and it's important, and kind of reinvigorating my neighborhood or whatever neighborhood you're in, to say, how do I just get together with my neighbors to, because I think those old groups used to like, hey, who's going to look at the city council meeting from this week? Who's going to see if there's anything that applies to our neighborhood? Who's going to email the council person?
They did, but they also worked hand in hand.
together?
With the city government. I mean, it was like we worked on the inspection program. So we had input. We had input, and they respected our input. You know, they ran it from a city government input, which they should. Its inspection program is a city program. But they also had input from all of the neighbors and what was happening in their neighborhood. And, you know, it was amazing how all of that worked with the neighborhoods. It truly was. It's a good way to put this. Their egos did not get in their way. Mm-hmm. Did not. Sometimes you get the egos with the city where they're like, well, I know best. I'm a city employee. I know best. This is what I do, and they won't take any input. Bad.
Yeah.
Very bad. You're never going to get anywhere like that.
Or they'll take the input because it's part of a process where you have to have a phase where you have community input, or you have to have a survey filled out.
Just to say they did.
Just to check it off a box, but they're not like incorporating what the community has said they want into the plan. Because
it's an ego.
Yeah.
And they know best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And so returning to an era where that is not just a box that is checked, it is like deeply...
I mean, I'm not saying that, you know, the community knows everything that happens within a city.
Yeah.
And that's where the city is like, okay, this is what we have to do. But there's a transparency, and I've always been okay with everything as long as you communicate and you explain why you're doing it.
Yeah.
If it makes sense, then you can't deny that. But to just say something and then have it ignored and do whatever you want to do to check a box.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
I mean, the frustration I've had, and I'm not diplomatic, like I need to work on that. You can give me some lessons after this, but I try to be polite.
I'm not always diplomatic, but as you get older, you get that too. So
when I've pushed back on choices like around the budget or how we spend ARPA dollars or how we spend CDBG dollars from my council person and other council people, the reaction I've gotten is for you to imply that our city staff are not doing an absolutely wonderful job and that they're the experts and we need to listen to them is wrong. You know, I think those were someone's direct words to me. To imply that our city staff isn't doing just an A+ job is wrong. And to me,
nobody does an A+ job.
And
nobody
to me,
does.
like my own business, like I've been a successful business person, not to toot my own horn, but feedback and questioning processes and wondering how we can help people feel more satisfied as employees in this area and where we could save money and is such a foundational piece.
It's called conversation.
Well, and it's
called conversation, and that's lacking.
But if it's just like it's kind of like a door that shuts where it's like, I don't want to entertain the idea that we're not doing everything great. And it's like, I'm not trying to be a bee. I'm just, I like the process of mixing it up, asking questions, being a little messy, because that's what a neighborhood group would do. It would probably be annoying for a city to have to respond to that quantity of involvement, but that's where you're going to get better outcomes.
Exactly.
And if you said to me,
I'm sure they found us annoying when we did it on certain things, but it's kind of the process of the whole thing. If you're going to open your door up to these neighborhoods, you're going to get that, but you better make sure that you're picking the right people that are also genuinely. It's like, you know how you go to some meetings sometimes, like to some board meetings, and it's just a bitch session. You don't want that.
You're not living in the solution.
No, yeah. You don't want
See,
that.
I go to AA meetings, and we're supposed to live in the solution.
and it's like, and you don't want people that are going to do that.
Yeah.
So it has to be a good mix.
Yeah.
It has to be a good mix, and it's I really. So where do I see the future of Rock Island? I'm hoping the neighborhood programs come back. It'd be wonderful to see that. It was like, I think you need to talk to Alan Carmen again
Okay.
and basically ask him about those groups. He might have a different perspective. I'm sure he does. He was city staff at the time. It's probably, but we didn't, as a neighborhood, we didn't see that. We didn't see if he would have had the problems
You
with
were
it,
giving him a
or the
headache, but you
frustration.
didn't know it.
They did not express the frustrations of it. I'm sure there was.
Yeah.
But we didn't feel it.
I know I
really
frustrate
important.
people. I do frustrate people. And sometimes they'll say, well, we already tried this. Or like this already, what you're proposing or what you're asking about has already been done. Or we've discussed this already.
And there's some truth to that sometimes.
Yeah.
There
and
is.
to have residents who are like, well, we're going to talk about it again. Or we're going to, you have different energy or you have
that
a
is
different
true.
group of people or
It's a different decade.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, really.
You keep going back to you keep going back and like you keep trying and you keep, I don't know.
You do. You do. I mean, like I said with the city, it's just same shit, different day.
Yeah.
It can become that. More than not, it is that way. I wish that changed within the city of Rock Island. Wish people a little bit more open and a little bit more visionary, and I think we have some people on council that can see that. But like I said, there's a lot of things within the city that regular people that live here don't know.
I also think your whole example with Hauberg Estate is like probably the most important part is that how many council members, I think we have 7. They're important. They are. But the people who really are important to a city are the Rock Islanders who live here.
Yep.
And that when Rock Islanders who live here get organized, have something they care about, and they show up and they kind of demand, responsiveness or for things to change, that's what will actually make a difference.
It does. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. You can't fight community. You can't.
And city council is weird because they can't all get together and talk about their vision. I feel like city government in and of itself has foundational flaws because of open meetings acts. It's like they're not really supposed to be talking to each other in more than 2 of them at a time. When do they all get together to sit down and say, hey guys, what do we think? Is it the city manager has to call each one individually?
We have a vision meeting every year.
Yeah, but is that enough? And how do they really vision? I mean, it's almost like the community has to vision.
Well, I think sometimes they forget the city as a whole because they're in all their wards. My ward, because my ward votes. My ward votes for me. And so you get all that. Yes, they have to take care of their ward. But sometimes I think they forget the city as a whole.
Just the bigger picture.
I do.
Yeah.
I do. Because I think there's and some of that I think there's so many needs.
And a lot of them work and it's just, it's not, do you really have the time to like focus your whole life on, I don't know. I spend a lot of time focused on it, but
yeah, well,
nerd.
You focus on it when you want to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Really. I mean, luckily my focus has been where I work. So, and has been that cause. So it's kind of much easier when you're there every day. But yeah, I think they forget the whole picture. I just do.
Yeah.
Or
they're reacting to something. It can be, I'm sure that role can be reactionary because it's like, oh, this thing came up and now we have to respond to it instead of what is our strategic kind of driving.
For example, okay, so like, Dylan has been quoted as, well, Hauberg is your pet project. I'm like, you're calling Hauberg a pet project. And do you have, the other wards, do you have a pet project? Guess what? They're all in the city of Rock Island.
Yeah.
Get over it.
Like he's been criticized
Oh,
as
yeah.
having your back
Oh,
and
yeah.
being
Oh,
for
yeah.
Hauberg.
A lot.
Okay.
A lot.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Which is like, what are you guys talking about? Why are you doing that?
Yeah.
This is Rock Island. What are you doing?
Yeah. So if the first ward alderman wants to do something for MLK and Dylan wants to do something for Hauberg and
everybody has a pet project in their ward.
Yeah. And they're duking it out a little bit over that funding and financing and how
Instead of looking at it as a Rock Island thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do that. Oh yeah, that's happened a lot.
Yeah.
That's happened a lot. It's weird to me. It's very weird to me. Like I said, they don't think of it as a whole sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of the time they don't think of it as a whole. I'd like to see that change a little bit.
Well, I think the history of Rock Island is all over Rock Island. So that's one thing.
It is. Absolutely
you know,
is.
if each ward
Absolutely
thought about
is.
its stop on the historical trail, what is the thing in each ward that would be a draw? And maybe, you know, thinking of it that way, like, I don't know. Well, I really respect and admire you for everything you've done for this city that I love and you love.
I do. I do love Rock Island.
And I just really wanted to talk to you because I think Hauberg Estate is just such a great example of that synergy between things. It's city, it's nonprofit,
Public-private.
Public-private, the
Public-private
partnerships. Yeah.
I mean, I wish they would tout it a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
I think they need to.
Yeah.
I think they need to because why not? They've given monetarily. They have. I mean, I hate to say thank God for a pandemic, but that ARPA money was definitely. I don't think we would have gotten the carriage house done.
Yeah, ARPA
if
came
it wasn't
in handy.
for that. Yeah, yeah, and I'm glad the powers that be saw that as an asset. And John Grip was very instrumental in that, being that he was the city manager at the time.
Yeah. He was my first boss, so
Was
shout
he?
out to John Grip. Yes. I worked actually 1 year at Circa 21.
Mm-hmm.
I was an Annie, but that doesn't really count. So my first job was at RIFAC and a lifeguard at Longview and taught swim lessons. And John Grip was one of my first bosses. So, yeah.
No, it's can only get better. That's what I always say. It can only get better, and it will.
Well, I'm hoping to come on Saturday.
Sunday.
Sunday.
Sunday from 12 to 4.
What is the date?
22nd.
Okay, so this Sunday, the 22nd, 1 to 4 at Hauberg.
12 to 4.
12 to 4. Sunday, 12 to 4 at Hauberg, February 22nd.
Mm-hmm.
Tour, talk.
Tours, talks, just,
hang out, wander
around. Hang out, see everything new that's coming, go through the heritage room, and
awesome.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Yay.
It'll be fun. It's definitely worth celebrating.
Well, thank you, Deb, for sitting down and talking to me, for stopping by the Rock Island line, and
thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, I look forward to watching how this whole thing evolves over the next decade. So,
well, I don't plan to be there for another 10 years, but
and if I win the lottery, I will give you lots of money. That's
wonderful. Me too.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, I will talk to you later.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much to Deb for joining me today on the Rock Island Line podcast. Don't forget to check out the Hauberg event this Sunday at Hauberg Estate from noon to 4. That's February 22nd. And thanks for tuning in and listening. I should be back with another episode in a couple of weeks. If you like what I'm doing on the Rock Island Line, head over to www.rockislandline.com for articles and information. I recently put out some fact sheets on the demographics of city staff and residency. So I just, write little things over there. If you're interested, check it out. And I will see you next time on the Rock Island Line.